Welcome everyone on today's Metal3 Community meeting. Today is 7th of February 2024. My name is Adam Rosman. I will be your host today, and we can, I believe, skip the introductions. Yeah, there are no new participants, and then we can continue with the reminders. Please don't forget that the meeting is recorded. If you would like to help the project, feel free to search for the help wanted label on project level across all the repositories. You will find issues that have these help wanted label, or you can just follow the link in the reminder. Otherwise, if you think that your organization would benefit by adding itself as an official adopter of Metal3, you can create a PR, push it, and modify this adopters.md file in the root of the Metal3 bio community repository. And you just have to extend the table and follow the example of the others, and this would help the project maintainers and the project itself a lot. Otherwise, if you are facing a CI, facing an issue with your tests, then feel free to attach your create an issue and attach that to the CI tracker. When you create an issue, on the right hand side you will see this project button or drop down menu, and then you can just add your issue that you created to this Metal3 CI tracker, and maintainers will be able to track your issue and compare it with previous CI problems. Yep, and then if you are interested in the progress of the incubation proposal, you can just search it in the CNCF DOC issue list, or follow the link from the reminders. Not much happened. If you are interested in the stats of the CI, the contributions, the tests, and so on, just feel free to check these links. And last week we had the Metal3 team meetup, which was, I believe, a success. That was almost 20 of us present, and there were a lot of great in-depth discussions, very on-the-point topics, and I'd like to thank everyone who joined, who proposed topics, who discussed the topics. It was very good. We had 2 topics, I believe, if I remember correctly. It was some time ago that we forgot to discuss, or not forgot, but we didn't have time to discuss 2 of the topics. I believe one of them was the BMO E2E test roadmap, and the other one was the inspector phasing out discussion. I'm sure in the inspector one, I'm not sure in the BMO E2E test roadmap, but I was thinking that today we could discuss that, so I added one of them to the discussion topics. I haven't added both of them because Leonard is out of office today, so it would be not really efficient to discuss the BMO E2E without him. Yep, and related to the KubeCon, so in addition to the Contrib Fest, I can just quickly report it because, yeah, the Contrib Fest preparations are going, but I can just add it to the agenda point because we will continue with that anyways, that we will have a booth for you. We'll have a booth for 1 day. This is a new policy that we can't have the booth the whole week because we are just a sandbox project and there are too many new projects, and we will have a keynote speech. Or is it keynote? Not keynote. It's like this short speech, 6 minutes.
Lightning talk.
Lightning, yeah, not keynote. That's for other people. Yeah, lightning talk.
Do you know which day?
The talk? No.
No, means the booth.
Boot, yeah, I had to select it. I got the email today morning, and it was basically a reshuffling because it was on a first come, first served basis. By the time I opened the mail in the morning, the earliest was Thursday. So I picked it on Thursday on the AM shift. So from 10:30 on Thursday.
Okay, great. I'll try to be there.
Yeah, that would be great. If as much, I have to say it, like if as many of us who are maintainers at some capacity would be there at the booth, and that would be a great help, I believe. There are no limits of how many of us could be at the booth or any of this. The only thing is that I'm the contact person, but that's all. So we can organize it anyways, anyhow we want. Yep. Yeah. So I jumped to this discussion topics. Yeah, before I would continue, is there anyone who can update about the Ionic scalability? I heard that there were some reviews done by you, Dimitri, on the fake IPA.
I have, yeah, I believe it's actually pretty close. I think I need to see the new updated version. I haven't reviewed that yet, but the thing I last saw was reasonably okay. The next challenge will be to find some other person to review that other than me, because we need 2 reviewers, just as in Metal3. I'm looking at Ricardo's name, you just cannot see my eyes, but I'm looking at them. Yeah.
That's good. Okay. Is there any other comments related to scalability, Ionic scalability? Okay, then I will just bit add to the comments that I have had about the KubeCon, and I'll just list everything. So if you have any idea, anyone in the community, for a topic that we can talk about in 6 minutes during the lightning talks, then it would be greatly appreciated. This is quite the challenge, that what can we mention in 6 minutes on a stage about the project. So yeah,
Status update.
Yeah, maybe that one. Yeah.
What's new in Metal3?
Yeah, exactly. I think in my past experience, like the latest and greatest would be something that would be, I think, beneficial for the audience. So status update and probably the latest features that we have added.
Yeah. Yeah, then I think we can talk about that. We went into incubation or proposed incubation. We have announced this, like regular releases and such stuff. Yeah. Okay. I think if I remember correctly from the email, we have to send in the presentation for the 6 minutes by 29th of February. So, yep. I will then write up something that's about the status update, and I will show it on next community meeting, and then we are in time. Maybe I'll add it to myself here.
I would say that we can also probably add a slide for the next upcoming exciting features. And possibly add those things that we decided in the meetup. I don't know. That's just an opinion.
Okay. You mean that I should upload here a slide where people? Or,
No. In the same presentation, I mean, as what I meant is that apart from the status update, what has happened, also something about what's to look for in the future.
Get it. Get it. Okay. Are there any other questions or remarks related to the KubeCon 2024 participation? Okay. If not, then we can continue with the next topic from Ricardo.
Thank you. This is just an announcement that we have a new release available for the Ironic image since yesterday, the release 24.0, which is based on the latest bug fix branches from Ironic and Ironic Inspector from last week. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. That's great. We have now the second release. I will. We were discussing just today with a few of us that we would need to improve on the CI for these branches. This is actually something that we were not contemplating before, because the Ironic image was for so long just a main branch. So some minor CI changes have to be done to provide integration test for these branches and yeah, just in general have a better CI for the Ironic image. But I plan to take care of this as my next task. Yeah, thank you. Okay, and are there any other questions related to the release of the new Ironic image?
Do we foresee any changes to those branches that we have in Ironic image? Because until we have a CI, we can't really add any patches to that. Like, for example, I don't think we had any PRs on the older branches yet, but just a reminder that until the CI is there, we can't really merge anything. Or of course, we can do the force merging in the interim.
Yeah, I think in general, people who are responsible not taking one-to-one the upstream images. So I don't think there will be that much traffic.
Yeah, I was actually commenting in one of the PRs. I would really like to now understand that how do we test it, especially what's the relation with the BMO branches, and then for which branch we should test which Ironic branch, because that is something that decision needs to be there before you put any CI. So
yeah, from my perspective, this is interesting because when you test the BMO, it's easy to pin an Ironic image. So from BMO to Ironic, or how to say it, like during a BMO test, this is not an issue, but when we have more recent Ironic image release than BMO release, so I could even say that we have one more Ironic image release or newer than we have BMO, then I would say I would test against the latest BMO or against the main until there is no BMO release that pins that Ironic image release, because they are not tightly coupled. So if we release an Ironic image, we don't have to release a BMO. There is no policy for that or need, I believe.
yeah, true. So did I understand correctly that for this release 24, once you introduce a CI for that in the Ironic image repo, this would be tested with the release 0.5. That's the latest now for BMO, right?
Yeah, that's my plan. Yes.
Okay. Because on the other side, when we are doing the integration tests with CapM3, we are testing the release 0.5 branch of BMO with the currently release what was it, 23.1, if I remember correctly. That is what we are doing in the current test.
Yep. Yeah. I think this goes on a case by case basis in both direction. So if there is an ironic image that fulfills all the requirements of a given BMO release, it could be like 2 release older than our current one, then that BMO can rely on that ironic image because it supports it well enough. And in the other direction, if there is a new ironic image and we don't have a BMO that would utilize that, we can just test it against the latest or the main. That's all I can think of.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Are there any other questions related to this testing ironic images? Okay, if not, then the next one is from you, Kashif.
Yeah, I just had a review request. I can see that Dimitri already has approved it. Thanks a lot. This was for bumping the Go from a minor version from 1.20 to 1.21.6. Yeah, so please review those who have rights, and those who even doesn't, please review it and see if you can find something interesting. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Kashif. I guess there are no other questions for this. So we have the topic from the team meetup that was left to discuss. And this is coming from you, Dimitri.
Yeah, thank you. So I wanted to quickly maybe converge on a plan of what we do with regards to ironic inspector removal. How exactly we do that, how we approach releases, or more importantly, CI. The several questions I had was first to decide if the deployment scripts in BMO will be updated to remove ironic inspector or to make it a plugin. And as some of you have seen, I actually went for the first approach. But yeah, you still have a chance to scream at me and say that it's very important to keep ironic inspector support even as we move away from that. Understanding the consequences that we'll have to maintain it in ironic image as well because of that for some long time. So let me ask it this way. Are there any people who really want to keep ironic inspector support in deployment script specifically, not in the BMO code, for the time being?
If I understand correctly, that it's still possible. You have added a switch, right? And people would be able to use inspector if they want to, even if we make it this variable that we have used inspector to false. But if they want to, they can still use it by changing this var, right?
That's a question here. I want to get rid of this. Like I envisioned it as a transition period more than some long-term feature. So I guess I'm curious if people still have cases for keeping ironic inspector long-term. Let's think like several months, maybe this year, rather than just a transition.
Yeah, I think you have given a lot of time for that. So I don't personally. I think it's fine to go and remove it and just keep the way that we don't use it. But let's see what others think.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything from anyone either that they would like to keep an inspector or that inspector. I actually haven't even really seen any discussion just related to inspector in the use cases that I have seen. Usually, if the BMH can can present the inspection information, then it's fine. I haven't seen anyone digging into the inspector endpoints, for example, from our side.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, so my plan will be, I already have a patch to remove it from BMO deployment scripts. And that will follow in some weeks, not sure how many exactly, but not immediately by the removal from Ironic image. I don't have any plans to remove support for Ironic Inspector from the BMO code specifically. I know that Steve is using that, and that's not a lot of code. I don't have any really motivation to break them because this code is easy to maintain, so we can keep it long term unless somebody objects. I get the point, but probably not worth discussing in a meeting. Of confusion for me will be like what we do with CI, because apparently Metal3 dev env wants to have everything for all releases. So I cannot just remove stuff arbitrarily, as we discussed. Or actually, it wasn't Metal3 dev env. It was end-to-end tests. So end-to-end tests configure everything from master. So I need to keep stuff there. Is it like intended? Yeah, Kashif.
Yeah, I was mainly thinking about the first part that you mentioned, that you are not planning to remove the code that supports the Ironic Inspector usage from BMO. I am just thinking whether that would give some mixed signal to someone who is using that. In the code, we have support for Ironic Inspector, but for we don't provide any manifest.
Right. So my thinking was like, as Metal3, we are going to provide a consistent project without Ironic Inspector. But we also know that people want to use Metal3 with their clouds that are not based on our deployment scripts. Like we have a living example of that. Steve's team apparently does that. So I hope they migrate from Ironic Inspector. They will have to migrate from Ironic Inspector once it's deprecated in Ironic. But I also don't see the need for us to hurry into, or somehow usher them into doing that as soon as possible. I don't think we're going to advertise it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't mean hurry, but what my end goal would be that we can just, for example, as you are doing now, remove the manifests, but then we can declare that after in the next minor release or the next minor release, we would be probably dropping the code as well, so that people have time to migrate. But eventually, my opinion is that if we don't support it, we remove the code also. That's otherwise it just simply easily gets rotten, and then nobody is paying attention if it's working or not.
Yeah, there's not a lot of code to write there, but I kind of see your point. What I guess worries me is we control the deployment scripts, and we generally expect people to more or less take them as they are. And if we change them, people are going to adapt relatively easily. At least that's the case for us in OpenShift, which is going to just adapt to whatever they are. But if you think about people who have a whole OpenStack cloud, changing that is not an easy process. It's not something they can do in a couple of weeks. So at the very least, I believe we should talk to Steve about that and see what his timeline is for migrating away from Ironic Inspector, because he can easily say next year, and that will be completely different from what we want to do. But also maybe we can negotiate with him that he supports this code for the time being and fixes bugs.
Yeah, that's fine. Thanks. But then you had some other questions which I didn't really understand regarding the dev env.
Yeah, it wasn't actually about dev env, I realized. It was more about end-to-end tests in BMO itself. So I have this patch, and it fails TI because end-to-end tests in master also configure stable branches. So
Yeah, there are some upgrade tests where we are actually testing upgrades from older to the latest.
I guess when this version becomes old version, we can drop configuring Ironic Inspector right from there. So it's temporary.
Yeah, the idea would be that if we have a release 0.4, let's say someone has deployed BMO with that branch, and he has that configuration. So we test that if he's able to upgrade from that to the latest. And of course, if someone has release 0.4 deployment, he should have he would have the ironic inspector config. So that's what I understood from the fail test on your PR.
Okay, so once release 05 becomes the old version, we don't have any of
We
this
don't need
problem
to.
anymore.
No,
Okay.
no, exactly. Yep.
Okay, that's all clear. I believe I've actually resolved most of my problems since I created this topic proposal. So I think we are more or less aligned on what we are gonna do in the near future. Right? Does anyone have any questions?
I was just wondering, just for the notes, what have you mentioned, Kashif, that after release 05 of which one? 1.5, or what was the release after? We don't have to care about the inspector.
What I understood, I don't remember, like, is this so that, Dimitri, like in the release 0.5, we still need to support, right, the ironic inspector, because what you are merging now, it's currently in main branch. So possibly I was wrong when I was saying that when the release 0.5 is old, you don't need that. Possibly you will need that for release 0.5 as well. But going forward from this point on, when we release from main, let's say the current next release would be release 0.6, that would be the one that won't need an inspector config.
So have we released 0.5 already? That's probably confusing numbers.
Yeah, we already have a release 0.5, yes.
Okay.
So what you meant for probably is release 0.6, right?
Yep, I did, yes.
Yeah.
I just thinking about 04 because that's what we discussed on the patch.
Yeah.
Didn't
Yeah.
realize that 05 is, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other comments, questions, anything related to this topic? Okay, if nothing, then it was a great discussion. Let's quickly go through the triaging. I started pre-triaging before the meeting. If I remember this one, let me sort these. Let me sort these correctly. Yeah, that was this registration failure that went into stale, and I will leave this in stale. We don't need to discuss this because it just could be anything. This is a more interesting one. On a real bare metal deployment, the UEFI boot has failed, and it's coming from IPA, I think. This or Ironic directly, that the deploy step fails, and if I remember, this command is executed on the IPA or on the disk, the target disk, and it has issue with the partition and data. But this doesn't seem to me like UEFI. Like there is issue with the partitioning actually. I mean, it failed to install the bootloader, yes, but it's not the bootloader that we have issue with. We have issue with the partition data, which could be because of I have no clue.
There are two things that I would suggest doing here. I believe we need to redirect this person to the ironic bug tracker because it's seems to be purely an ironic problem, and we here are not all that well positioned to really debug that. And ask them when finding this launchpad bug to attach maybe the complete RAM disk logs, like the IPA logs, because just this snippet is not enough. And if they don't get any response, they should come to our IRC and just ask us after they file all this.
Okay. I will continue the answer here. I think I will write the answer down later. Yeah, I agree with you completely. It's an ironic issue, if it's an issue at all. Yeah, this one I will cancel and create 2 other PR instead of this. So this was a critique of our documentation, mainly around the devenv, which I agree with. We spent some time getting some actionable steps. At the end, I wrote down that based on what the contributor reported here, we have to do 2 things. It's just explain the different setups which we can reach with the or deploy with the devenv, the minikube, and the kind setup. And otherwise, just write another documentation also where we explain how to just deploy them on a managed Kubernetes, the Metalcube control plane component. So with cluster.ctl and with a wrapper script, just deploy what you need in order to use a Metalcube control plane. I think these are 2 good tickets, 2 good like beginner level tickets that I can create, and I can close this one. So I don't think we really have to dwell on this one. Let me continue. So UEFI we checked, website we checked. This is a more serious stuff, and this comes from this project called Silva that is deploying. I can even show it to you if you folks are not that familiar with that, or just to make it easier to follow. So the Silva is basically, they have this Flux, which is a CD tool, so it manages deployments, and you can manage the life cycle of Helm chart and other resources via this tool, and they deploy CAPI control planes and CAPI, basically CAPI clusters through Flux, through their Silva cluster. And if someone is not familiar with that, CAPI Helm support is this kind of how to say, like, problematic topic. If I remember correctly, there is no upstream support for Helm, but there are projects like the Silva that are packaging CAPI configurations into Helm. So it's interesting. And this project they fund this issue, and the issue is that the bond interface configuration is not working correctly, and where this bond policy is, this is in the network data. We have an option to specify this bond xmit hash policy, which would be picked up by most likely Cloud Init on the node when it boots with the node image. And this is used for after you specified which interfaces to bond, you can give like this is basically an option of how the bond should behave. Yeah. This is weird because when I was working with Glean, this wasn't an issue. At all. Although, yeah, that was a bit different. Okay, I think this is a legitimate bug, and very few people are using interface bonding with MetaCube. So I think we can take it as it is. It's a good explanation. Well, what's your opinion? Okay, if there are no opinions, I will accept this.
Yeah, this whole area is a bit far away from me, I must admit. So can you provide any reasonable comment?
Yeah. Okay, no problem. I mean, this is not like, this is an edge case, so you only see this if you are bonding interfaces, and you are not specifying the policy, if I understand correctly. So we basically missing a default value, if I understand correctly. So although what's a good default value for bonding, I think I know a person who I can ask, and some network engineer. So I think I will. Yeah, and bug kind is already there. And I will keep an eye on this one. Okay, we can continue. Is the sorting good? Yes. So yeah, official dating BMH using credential secret. And this is the old stuff. The ownership topic. This is, see, there are no discussion on this one. And then there is a customization error. How is the discussion? Yeah, but I think we deem this as a user error with the customize, not something that we were able to reproduce. Yes, Leonard reproduced it. Try to reproduce it. I will let this go. I will let this go to stale and close if there are no more discussion about this one. Oh yeah, this one we invalidated and there were no protest from the original contributor. So we had a very long discussion that how this does not really sit well with CapM3. In the future, workflows like this, as we discussed on the MTM, this would be good for this sort of Metal Cube operator or Metal Cube controller, which is not the CAPM3, but some other tooling, but not even that, but because that was just the proposal for that one, that stock proposal was actually just talking about how to manage machines. This would be the exact opposite, that you don't even manage machines, just create Kubernetes cluster. But then for that, there were a better solution. This bring your own host, which I suggested. This exactly does what the original reporter wants. So I am thinking that I will close this because I don't know. I will leave it just go to stale. Maybe we got some feedback, but this was like a clear-cut case of the bring your own host. I don't want to delete it prematurely. Yeah, and then there are no communication for these last two. When these go to stale, why are they still? It's interesting. Yeah, this is not stale. We well past the 30 days. It's weird. Okay, I will look into it. Why is it not going to stale? Okay, so these were all the topics that needed triage. Not much actually. And then if we check the stale ones, get started experience workflow should be improved. Yeah, it should be improved. I think I can even link here the issues with the website. This is not stale. Yeah, this can go to stale, we discussed. Okay. Okay, this can go to closure. I mean, this was a question. This was answered. Okay, that's fine. And then, wasn't this fixed, actually? I think this was solved. So displayed such other. Oh, it's actually still a thing. CSF logo is not visible in dark mode. Oh, it was turned off actually for me, so it's not visible anyhow. Huh. Okay. Then this is still an issue. Okay, this was the last one in the stale list. Let's check. Okay, it's removed. Okay, so these were all the needs, triage, and stale topics. Is there any other question, request, suggestion, anything? Okay, if there's nothing else, then thank you for your time and patience, and let's meet next week at the same time. And until then, have a nice rest of the week. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.